This is the AlgoFutures Trader weekly market roundup. And this week, I just wanted to take a look at Friday's trading action and kind of how we handled that. What you're looking at here is the Alpha Web Trader. And you can see on the left-hand side, we've got where we house some of the news, our alphabias here, which is one of the filters that we use. And this has multiple purposes, but obviously you can see this is happening live Sunday night. And what it's showing you is basically that overall you see more green than red, right? So the market's more positive than negative. But also you see the Dow is listed here first, then you've got small caps, S&P, Nasdaq, and micro caps. That tells you the strength of each market. So right now the Dow is the strongest of those markets. And the mid cap at the bottom here is the weakest, now the Nasdaq. Now on Friday, this is a filter that we use. So the non-farm payrolls had come out, market had rallied into 9:30, but a couple of things we noticed was, one, the Nasdaq was at the bottom here. So we'll see if it moves back to the bottom here where mid caps is. So that told us that the Nasdaq was the weakest of these markets. So if we were going to get long something, it wouldn't be the Nasdaq because it was the weaker market. The other thing that we were taking a look at is our gap bias. So if I just click to view all the gaps, now these are all closed because these were all from Friday's trading. But if I go down to the MNQ here for December 3rd, right here, you see it says IGU. That meant it opened with an inside gap up. So the Nasdaq had gapped up higher than the prior day's close, but it was still inside the prior day's range. That gives us a short bias for the MNQ. So given the fact that we had a short bias in MNQ and it was the weaker market going into the morning, what we did when we come over to our AlgoFutures Trader 7 here for NinjaTrader 7, we just checked the short box here. Right? Instead of checking both long and short, we only want it to take short trades because we know it has a short bias. The gap bias is short. It's the weaker market. And then we would turn automatic trading on. All right, so this is heading into the open. This is around 924 here at the end of the chart. I'm just going to step this forward here manually here. So here you see this blue shaded area. So here's the first candle, opening candle at 930. And this blue shaded area is what we call a no trade zone. Now that we've set the software to only trade in the short direction and automatic trading is set on, our work is really done. Right? So we determine what direction we want this thing to trade in, and it's going to only execute trades to the short side if it breaks, out to the downside outside of this no trade zone. So you can see it's has its opening range here. Now you see we get a signal. Right? So the software is going to generate a trade signal, and it's going to execute that trade signal because it falls in line with the parameters that we set up into it. So it is short. Now, unfortunately, it didn't get any follow through there, and we ended up stopping out. Now, it triggered a long trade here, but remember, we set this to trade only to the short side, so it's going to avoid trade. Right? That gap is still open, so we still believe that the market's going to have to come down to fill that gap. It's a 70% probability anyway. Right, which is an edge when it comes to trading. So the market did come back down. Notice the gray bars here inside the no trade zone because we don't trade inside that no trade zone. It starts breaking down again, and now we get a new signal to go short. That sends a signal to the software. It executes the short trade there. Right, and this, whoops, stepped it a little too fast, a little too far. Well, you can see the result. Right? The market just dropped. It filled the gap and more there. In fact, I'll show you the kind of the completed trade here. So you see the initial short here, that got stopped out. It did not take the long. It waited for the next short trade to set up. That got executed. And the first set of contracts was taken off here. And then the final target was hit down here. All right, so that's just kind of how we size the market up in the morning, using some of the filters that we have, the gap filter, the alpha bias, determining which markets are the strongest markets, which are the weakest market. And we're just trying to go long a market that has a long bias and that is the stronger market, or short, like in this case the NQ, was the weaker market and it had a short bias. So, we're just not turning the software on and letting it trade every which way. We're having some input. It's man with machine. It's kind of the best of both worlds. All right, hope that's helpful. If you click on the links below, you can get started for free. You can use AlgoFutures Trader 7 in Sim as long as you want for free. We also have the AlgoFutures Trader 8 for NinjaTrader 8. That is in beta. All right, so that is not complete yet. But you can download those for free. Use it as long as you want in sim mode. When you're ready to go live, you can either purchase a license or lease. All right, hope that's helpful. Also, if you click below, you'll find links to our Discord server. We have a trading room there where what we just kind of walk through, we do each morning before the market opens, so you get an idea of exactly how we use those filters to trade the opening morning breakout. Again, hope that's helpful, and we'll see you next week.